So, some more interesting things to talk about in the news again. So we'll give it a few moments and we'll let a couple of people come into the room as we begin to start the show. But definitely some more interesting things to talk about today. So let's pull up some stuff while we wait for everybody to bring themselves into the room and tune in. Okay, I see we got some people coming through. Very good, very good. All right. Good, good. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let me pull up my Twitter real quick. Wa alaikum salam, Macho Man, Mustafa Ahmed. Welcome, welcome. King Kareem, wa alaikum salam. All right, so let's give it a few more moments. Let some more people get some more viewers into the room. But like I said, we got some good stuff to talk about tonight. Good stuff to talk about tonight. Particularly, I'm sure you've heard if you've been watching the news, right? Yusuf Chebi, welcome again. Assalamu alaikum. If you've been watching the news, I'm sure you heard about the supposed suspected plot that the FBI was said to have stopped, allegedly, right? They said it said that they had stopped an alleged terrorist plot in San Francisco, California, on Pier 39. Excuse me. One thing that I've learned over the years, right? One thing that I've learned over the years is, unfortunately, many of these so-called stopped terror plots are usually not real plots. Like, they're not real terror threats. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is that a lot of them, like, in other words, it's not like they actually intercepted somebody who was planning something on their own and they caught it and they stopped it. You know what I mean? Or, you know, or the guy was in the act, the guy was working on his own and they, you know, they found out about it and they stopped him or something like that. Most of these have been what they call sting operations, right? Yeah, it was, bro. In the sense that this guy, he wasn't, like, in other words, he wasn't actually planning to do something on his own, and they got wind of it and intercepted it and stopped it. This was what they call a sting operation. Most of these things, if not all of them, except the ones that happen in other countries, but the ones that they stop over here, check the news. A lot of them are sting operations. You know what that is, right? A sting operation is when, you know, whether it involves like undercover agents, undercover whoever's doing the operation, whether it's undercover sting for police or FBI, CIA, man, excuse me. It was a sting operation. So basically, it involved like undercover agents, like talking to the guy, and kind of getting him to go along, you know, like kind of coaching him to say something or to say that he'd be willing to do something, which he hadn't planned on doing on his own. You see what I'm saying? Wa alaikum salam, Mo Staff. So, and what's interesting about this one, right? And a lot of, like I said, a lot of them is that most of the time you'll find out that these guys have no connection to any terrorist group. If it wasn't for them meeting with the agents they have no access. You know what I'm saying? Like they have no, they like on their own, they wouldn't have had any access overseas or any contact. They don't have any money. They don't have any weapons. You know what I mean? Like they don't really have the resources to actually carry out a real terror act. And so a lot of times what happens is the agent, the undercover agent or informant, whoever, gets in contact with them, and they're the ones who have the money. They talk to the person, you know, maybe they see the person has some kind of radical views or something, and then they'll play on that. And they're like, well, hey, look, why don't you do something? And the guy doesn't have the resources or whatever. Say, look, I can get you the money. I can put you in contact. But on their own, this person would have just been a guy with radical views, right? On his own, he would have just been a person who may have had radical views, but had no access. He doesn't have any. He wouldn't have any bombs. He wouldn't have anything to actually carry out any acts. No money, no resources, no real contact with ISIS or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So this one was a case. So here, I'm gonna read it to you. I'm gonna read to you. This is from NBC News San Diego. So basically, here's how it started, right? And that's why I always look. I said, let me see, because you know, when I heard about this one, I was like, okay, well, let me see, because you know, all the ones that I've seen over the years, they've been sting operations, right? Even like the first, go back and do research on the first World Trade Center bombing. Remember the first one that happened with the blind Sheikh Umar and all of that? Go back and do the research on that one, and you'll find out that also was a sting operation as well. That from I forgot the name of the agent too. But what happened was on that one, one of the suspected terrorists, he was undercover. He was an Egyptian. He was an Egyptian undercover, and what he did, because he didn't trust them, he didn't trust the agents. I guess he thought they might try to set him up. So what he did is he recorded his conversations with the agent. I believe was the agent John Antasev. I want to think his name. I gotta look it out. I don't want to misquote the wrong person or say the wrong person's name. But if you go back and do the research on the first World Trade Center bombing, the one that they did. Man, I don't know why I keep yawning. I'm tired. Excuse me. The first one that they did. Not 9/11. I'm not talking about 9/11. Not 9/11. The first one, the one that happened before 9/11, the one with Sheikh Umar, with the blind sheikh, and they all got arrested. Go back and do the research on that one. There was one of the guys who was part of that. He was undercover. He was an Egyptian informant. He was acting like he was with them. But what he did, he recorded to cover himself, right? That one took place. I think that was the one that took place in 1993. Was it 93? I think that's the one that took place in 1993. Okay, so he recorded his conversation. I don't know what happened. I got disconnected there. Brothers seem to be very cautious, careful, stop being gullible. Exactly, Zalagolfer. Exactly. That's the other thing too, is that brothers and sisters, come on, people, you gotta be, you gotta watch out. Don't be gullible. Don't let people coax you into saying stuff that you normally wouldn't say, right? Don't let people, if somebody starts talking to you about that stuff, you shut that down. You know what I mean? If you're not about that, you shut that down right away. Don't let anybody come to you, especially somebody who you don't know. Some stranger, some Muslim stranger brother comes start talking to you about stuff like, don't let nobody do that. Don't let nobody come to you and start talking to you about some terrorist stuff or whatever like that. You shut that down immediately. You be like, nah, nope, I'm not with it. Don't talk to me about that, because this is how they set people up. This is how people get set up. You know what I mean? Gullible people, naive people get set up. They start talking, running their mouth. You know what I'm saying? And this is how you get set up. And before you know it, you're getting caught up in the thing. So that's why I always make it clear. I have plenty of videos where I denounce, hey, Shazad Ali, welcome again, brother. Good to see you again. I have plenty of videos where I'm on the record stating very plainly that these terrorist acts, harming innocent people, this stuff is wrong. It's against Islam. It doesn't bring any benefit, right? When these people do, it doesn't bring any benefit. You're not accomplishing anything, right? You're not defeating anybody. You're not accomplishing anything. That's not going to make whoever is in your country, get out of your country. It's not gonna. None of that is it's a useless tactic. So I make it clear: don't do it. You're not accomplishing anything. Just stay away from that stuff, man. But so as I was saying, is that when you go back to the first World Trade Center bombing in 90, no, it wasn't 91. It was 90. I think it was 90. Let me look it up. I think it was 93, right? 1993 was the first one. 1993. Yep, 93. Yeah, it was 93. So if you go back and do the research on the first, matter of fact, I'm gonna look that up too. Let's see. Egyptian informant records agent or agents. Yeah, let me see. He was smart. So as I said, what he did, I guess he didn't trust the agent. So what he did to cover himself, he didn't tell the agent. He secretly recorded his conversations with the agent. And this is what you'll find, brothers and sisters. This is what you'll find, that this was supposed to be a fake operation, right? It was, in other words, this was orchestrated. This was orchestrated by the agents, right? This was orchestrated. They didn't have this plan of themselves. They were coached into doing this through this informant. His name was Imad as-Salam. I don't know what the A is, but it's Imad, E-M-A-D, Salam. Imad as-Salam. He was a former Egyptian army officer, and he was the agent that was used by the FBI, right? So this operation was his coaching through the direction of the FBI. So in other words, these brothers didn't come up with this idea on their own. Wa alaikum salam. Like the brother said, don't be naive and gullible and trust everything. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So this was their creation. And then he recorded himself, and check what this. He thought that he was going to get them to make fake bombs, right? He thought that they were supposed to be making fake bombs. But the agent told him, no, let them make real bombs. So he figured that they were going to make fake. He was going to get them to just make some fake materials. Not like in other words, they didn't know, like he was going to give them the materials, but the guys making it didn't know that they were going to be fake bombs. But the agent was like, no, let them make real bombs, make them real. So he was shocked that they were actually letting them make these real bombs and going to get away with this. You know what I'm saying? So he recorded himself. So I have it right here. It says, bomb informers tapes give rare glimpse of FBI dealings. New York Times, 1993. You see? So look, I'm going to show you. Can you see that? That's the article right there. New York Times. See? Bomb informers tapes give rare glimpse of FBI dealings. So let's read a little bit of it. Okay? It says, it is shortly after a bomb has blown a hole 5 stories deep at the World Trade Center, and an FBI agent is talking to Imad as-Salam, the former Egyptian army officer who is the Bureau's secret source of information, its most valuable undercover operative. Okay, but rather than talk about the conspiracy, about who is involved in it and how it is done, Mr. Salam's concerns are more mundane, involving unpaid parking tickets, the tolls he pays as he travels between New York and Jersey, the expense of using his own car to carry out his informer duties. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter. I want to get to the heart of the matter. Okay. Because they had the transcripts and everything, man, and he used this to cover himself. Let's see. The transcripts are replete with new allegations about what the authorities have called the most damaging terrorist attack in American history and the larger conspiracy related to it. The transcripts are like spotlights providing bursts of illumination in the still dark arena. Let's see of the case, so that faces, names, and actions appear in the light, and then the amount of illumination over seem to fade again. Mr. Salim's specific allegations cannot be confirmed independently, but they are clearly taken seriously by the FBI agents. Let's see. Transcripts show the torment of the FBI agents and Mr. Salam over whether the attack on the World Trade Center could have been prevented, as Mr. Salim repeatedly and furiously insists, and whether the decision to pull him off the case 6 months before the explosion was a fatal blunder. Mr. Salim tells the FBI that he himself was recruited into the bombing conspiracy in 1992 by El Said El Nasur, the man accused of killing Rabbi Meir Kahane. Let's see. Come on, where's the part? Where's the main part, man? Let's see. Let's see. Nah. Oh yeah, it was. Yep, the agent was John Antisev. I was right. I remember that name. See, I remember his name. I want to remember that name. All right, I'll deal with that in a moment, bro. Let me just get this. But let's see. Let's see. Carried out by some other figures later in the case discovered. Let's see. Let's see. That there were. I mean, I don't. Yeah, but basically, this article here is saying that the bombing could have been prevented because obviously Mr. Salim or Salem was in there, so he was keeping an eye on them and he was watching them as they, you know. So he's saying that it could have been stopped because he was supposed to be in, like basically watching over them and in control of them. But nah, this article's not that. There was before when they were showing that he recorded himself and he was like, yo, they knew what was going on. So they said the FBI took him off the case. Let's see. We knew a serious detective. Let's see. When after the bombing, the FBI tries to lure Mr. Salim back into his informer's role, agents try to tempt him with the prospect of being put in the witness protection program. You know, new life with a new name in any part of the country that you like. Mr. Antisev tells Mr. Salim would be yours for the asking. Since arrest in the second bombing case in June, Mr. Salim has dropped out of sight. And there is a paradoxical theme of trust or lack of it between the Bureau and its confidential informer. Has no faith in him. At one point, he refers angrily to having been given a lie detector test by an FBI supervisor. Another time, he protests over having been patted down at one. At least once, Mr. Salim clearly tells the FBI that he has been taping his conversations with agents, and at one point even tells them in what appears to be an attempt at blackmail that he put the tapes in a safe place and wrote a message, if God forbid something will happen to me from the FBI, these tapes got to be sold to one of the CNN or, let's see, let's see. Man, I'm gonna have to do, maybe do this on another show. But I remember when this happened back in the 90s. I remember when this happened, and when this stuff came out, and basically it was saying that, when you read the transcripts, that Salim or Salem was kind of like, letting them know that he thought that he was giving them fake materials for them to make fake bombs, but the agent was telling him, nah, go ahead, let them make the real bombs. So basically that's why he exposed that it could have been stopped, that basically they let it happen, it could have been stopped because he had been the main person who was, supposed to be infiltrating with the group and, showing them how to make fake bombs, but he said they wanted him to make real ones. I'm gonna find that because I remember that clearly. Man. Let me see, man. I remember that clearly. Let's see. Man, I remember that so clearly. Let's see. Y'all bear with me, all right? Y'all bear with me. Seeking a sense of purpose, FBI. Let's see. Man. Tapes depict proposals to thwart bomb. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think this one talks about it. Okay, I think I got one. Let's see. And then I'm going to tie this into this recent incident, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. All right, tapes depict proposal to thwart bomb used in Trade Center blast. Let's see. Law enforcement officials were told that terrorists were building a bomb that was eventually used to blow up the World Trade Center, and they planned to thwart the plotters by secretly substituting harmless powder for the explosives, an informer said after the blast. The informer was to have helped the plotters build the bomb and supply the fake powder, but the plan was called off by an FBI supervisor who had other ideas about how the informer, Imad Salam, should be used, the informer said. So basically it's saying that, he was supposed to stop it. This wasn't that bombing wasn't supposed to happen, right? It was supposed to be fake powder, fake materials, and then they would have thought they were making real bombs, and then the FBI could have busted in and stopped them and nothing happened. But instead, as he's saying that, look, they pulled me off the case and allowed them to make, so they knew what was going on. In other words, they knew what was going on. They knew that these guys were making real bombs and they could have stopped it. But for some reason, somebody let it happen. And again, this is not me saying it. This is in the New York Times article, October 28th, 1993. Okay. So this is not, I'm not talking no conspiracy. I'm not talking no, made up stuff. This is on the record. Okay. This is on the record, everybody. You can look this up yourself. I'm not making this up. This is not Alex Jones conspiracy theory stuff. This is on the record. Okay. So as he says the informant was to have helped the plotters build the bomb and supply the fake powder, but the plan was called off. So even though it was called off, they knew that these guys were doing something. See, they knew they had their eyes on them. So who was it that allowed them to still go ahead and make the bomb and put it under the World Trade Center? That's what we want to know. Okay. And that's what he was charging when he made his claims public. Okay. So it says the account, which is given in the transcripts of hundreds of hours of tape recordings Mr. Salem secretly made of his talks with law enforcement agents, portrays the authorities as in a far better position than previously known to foil the February 26th bombing of New York City's tallest towers. The explosion left 6 dead and more than 1,000 injured and damages in excess of $500 million. 4 men are now in trial in Manhattan federal court in the attack. Mr. Salim, a 43-year-old former Egyptian army officer, was used by the government to penetrate a circle of Muslim extremists now charged in 2 bombing cases: the World Trade Center attack and a foiled plot to destroy the United Nations, the Hudson River tunnels, and other New York landmarks. He is the crucial witness in the second bombing case, but his work for the government was erratic, and for months before the Trade Center blast, he was feuding with the FBI supervisor He was feuding with the FBI supervisor, messed it up. After the bombing, he resumed his undercover work, and an undated transcript of a conversation from that period. Mr. Salim recounts a talk he had earlier with an agent about an unnamed FBI supervisor who he said came and messed it up. And I believe that's the agent Antisev, John Antisev, that he was referring to. He requested to meet in the hotel, Mr. Salem says of the supervisor. He requested to make me testify to testify, and if he didn't push for that, we'll be going building. What the hell? We'll be going building the. Oh, okay. He requested to make me to testify, and if he didn't push for that, we'll be going building the bomb with a phony powder and grabbing the people who was involved in it. But since we did. Oh, okay. I guess that's the tape. They're giving you the transcript of the tape, and I guess some parts of it were, you couldn't hear the sound clearly. So it says, but since we didn't do that. The transcripts quote Mr. Salem as saying that he wanted to complain to the FBI headquarters in Washington about the Bureau's failure to stop the bombing, but was dissuaded by an agent identified as John Antisev. Right, that's John Antisev. He said, I don't think that the New York people would like the things out of the New York office to go to Washington, D.C., Mr. Salem said Mr. Antisev had told him. So he was going to complain. See, he was about to blow up their spot. He was about to say, look, man, these guys stopped me from stopping this bombing. They knew about it. We could have stopped it. They stopped me from stopping it. That's what he's charging. You understand what I'm saying? So again, how I'm trying to tie this into this recent one is that a lot of times, a lot of these things, they're not real acts. They're not real plots. A lot of times they are plots that have been concocted by informants or agents or whatever. And then they get some, like the brother was saying, they get some naive person, some gullible person who runs his mouth, or who's too naive and gullible and goes along with what they're saying. But in other words, it wasn't that person's idea. On their own, that person didn't have the idea. But they let somebody talk to them, get them to start running their mouth and say, hey, well, you know what? Yeah, come on. I can hook you up with the plan, man. I can help you carry out an act. And then stupidly, they go along with it. And then they wound up getting caught up, and then it's on the news. Oh, we stopped this terrorist act. Really, they didn't stop anything because it never was really a real act in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like there was one that happened a while back. It was the same thing. I forgot which one it was, but there was another one that happened some time ago. Some kind of bombing that happened some time ago, or an attempted one. And matter of fact, there's a documentary about this. I forgot what it's called. Have anybody seen it? It's a documentary. It's something, what's it called? It basically shows this so-called terrorist act in New Jersey. I forgot what it was called. Man, what's the name of that one? Anybody seen it? Anybody know what I'm talking about? It's a documentary about this kind of thing, and it happened in New Jersey. And it was basically the same thing. There was this masjid in New Jersey. They send in an undercover Pakistani guy. He meets some brother who just got out of jail. He's a Muslim. He became Muslim in jail. He comes back out of jail. He now goes to the masjid. So they send in this Pakistani guy. I'm not even calling him a brother. They sent in an undercover Pakistani dude to pretend that he's Muslim. He starts talking to this brother, right? The brother never had no ideas of terrorism. So he starts talking. This undercover guy, Pakistani guy, starts talking to the brother, getting him to coerce him into talking about radical stuff, right? Start talking about radical stuff. And then he says, well, hey, we should do something. But it was the informant's idea. The brother himself had no idea because he was poor. He got out of jail, so he didn't have no money. He didn't have no connections overseas. He didn't have no connections to Al-Qaeda or nothing, and he probably wouldn't have been able to on his own. So this informant guy starts talking to him, getting him to say radical stuff, violent stuff or whatever. Then he says, well, hey, you know what? We should do something. So it was the informant's idea. Said, we should do something. I got an idea, man. I got some money. You know, I could give you some money. I can help you out. We can get some stuff and bombs like that. So I don't know. The brother was stupid. He goes along with it. He's like, okay, yeah, we could do something, blah, 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 right? But here's what's interesting, and this is what I'm going to show you about this one in San Francisco as well. So after a while, they have a couple of meetings, right? But then the brother, the one who they coerced, he disappears. He's not seen anymore, right? He disappears from the masjid for a long time. Maybe he was going through something, having a hard time, so he stopped going to the masjid. Walaikum salam, order, welcome, right? So then what happens is, then he disappears for a while. So the Pakistani informant dude, he talks to some other people in the masjid, right? And what he did is he finds like people who are naive, desperate. So what happens is they find this one brother. His mother has cancer. His mother has cancer. She needs money for an operation, and the brother can't afford it. So the Pakistani informant talks to him and says, "Well, look, I can help you get some money for your mother's, surgery or whatever, right? You need some help. I can get you some money. So all I need you to do is help me with this plot, with this plan. We're going to blow up a Jewish center or something like that." So once again, the brother that they got involved, he had no, he had no idea, he had no plans of his own to do any kind of terrorist act. So, and basically, he only agrees to it because he's caught in a desperate situation. His mother is sick. She needs a surgery for cancer. He can't afford it. So he only goes along with it for that reason, right? He only goes along with it for that reason. But check this out. What's even worse is that the guy tells them, like, they like this. So they reluctantly want to go along with it. So they're like, look, man, all right, we'll do this, but let's just basically they're saying, like, let's just do something. Let's just vandalize the place. Like, I don't want to, like they say, you can hear them on the tape saying it. Like, I don't want nobody to get hurt. We're not going to kill nobody, right? We're just going to damage the place, right? We're just going to damage some cars or something like that. And the guy's like, the agent is like, yeah, we're just going to do stuff like that. Right? So then the other guy comes back, the one who went to jail, he comes back, and they get him back into the plan. But again, same thing with him. You hear him on the tape saying that he doesn't want to do it. He's like, nah, I changed my mind. I don't think it's a good idea. But the informant is still trying to coerce him into doing it. Like, come on, yeah, let's do it. Come on. So again, he reluctantly goes along with it because, again, they're being promised money. They're in desperate situations. They're poor. But you can see that they really don't want to do it because on the video, on the tape, you hear them saying, look, we're going to do this, right? But nobody's going to get hurt, right? We don't want to kill nobody. We don't want nobody to get hurt. So then when they get the fake materials, they on their way to do it. And then all of a sudden, FBI comes out of everywhere. The agents come out of everywhere, SWAT, blah, blah, blah. And then on the news, we stopped terror plot. But the reality was that it wasn't really a threat. And it wasn't really a threat. Nobody was going to get hurt because in this one, the stuff was fake. So the stuff was fake. The plot was fake. But they put it in the media. Oh, we stopped this dangerous threat. And yeah, look at us, the heroes. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, the whole thing was made up, fake, and orchestrated. There was never a threat. There really was never, nobody really wasn't going to get hurt. So it really wasn't a threat. So I don't understand why they, well, I guess I do understand because they can put it in the media and the people who don't know what's going on behind the scenes, the public, right? The public, once again, it's another thing to make you scared of Muslims, hate Muslims, fear Islam, hate Islam because they throw it out there. But behind the scenes, the whole thing was fake. Nobody was going to get hurt. The plot was orchestrated by the informant. The people themselves really had no plans, had no money, had no resources, had no connection to any real terrorist group. And on their own, they would have never been able to pull it off. But they put it in the media like, yo, we stopped it. We stopped this terrorist threat and we're the heroes and blah. And when the whole thing was fake. I mean, I need to find the name of it. Let me see. I'm going to look it up because you guys need to see this. I'm telling you, bro. Yeah, the shaitan is devious. That's why, tell your children, your brothers and sisters, other brothers, look, man, you got to watch yourself. Don't let nobody ever start talking to you, come to you in the masjid and start talking to you about, don't fall for that, man. For real. You got to watch yourself, because you don't want to get wrapped up in some nonsense when that's not really what you were about. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody coerce you into start talking about some stuff, some terrorism or violence or whatever that you normally wouldn't. Don't let nobody do that to you. You got to watch out for that stuff, for real. What is the name of that documentary, man? Man, let me see. Documentary. You got to see it. You guys got to see it. Documentary about fake terror threat in New Jersey. Let's see what comes up. Is that it? The Newburgh 4? Okay, yeah, I think that's the name of it. It's called the Newburgh 4. Terrorism case was FBI entrapment. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so if you get a chance, let's see. I want to make sure this is the right one. You got to see the documentary, man, because you see how they operate. You see how they operate. Yeah, I think it's called the Newburgh 4. Look at it. Look. Y'all see that? Okay. That's the name of it right there. The Newburgh 4. Terrorism case was FBI entrapment. HBO. It's an HBO documentary. Yeah. So in other words, what they're telling you, right, that it was a case of entrapment. These brothers on their own were never going to do anything on their own. The only way they got caught up is because they were unfortunately gullible, naive, and they trusted this, and I'm like I said, I'm not even gonna call him a brother. They trusted this Pakistani undercover informant, and he got them set up. But it never was, understand, it never was a real terror problem or threat or plot of their own. It was completely orchestrated. You see? So that's what the documentary was about. The Newburgh 4. Let's see what they say a little bit. It says, on May 20th, 2009, 4 Muslim men from upstate Newburgh were arrested by the FBI and charged with plotting to bomb 2 Jewish synagogues in the Bronx and shoot missiles at military supply planes at Stewart International Airport. The FBI and NYPD claimed they caught the infamous Newburgh 4 red-handed. But was the sting really a setup? And were the men more guilty of simple greed than terrorism? And that's exactly what the documentary shows you, that really they were just, they were trying to get some money. One of the brothers, like I said, his mother needed surgery for cancer. He couldn't afford it, so he was going along with it for that. So it shows you that devious, man. It says those are the questions, the Newburgh sting. Oh, that's what it's called, the Newburgh sting. An HBO documentary premiering, it's already on. But if you look, you can go on YouTube and look it up. Okay, thank you, brother, for that. Appreciate that. You can go to YouTube and look it up. Okay, it says, yeah, Pakistani-born Shahid Hussein first showed up at the Masjid al-Ikhlas, 60 miles north of New York City in spring 2008. Worshippers took note of his fine cars and fancy clothes, much of it provided by the FBI. So you see what happened? They went fishing. They went fishing for this. This wasn't like, I want to see them catch a real terror plot. See what I'm saying? I want to see them catch somebody who was really planning to do something, and then they caught him really red-handed. That's what I want to see, because everyone that I've seen in the last few years, they've been sting operations. They've been cases like this where they're not real plots. The person themselves didn't plan it, didn't set it up. The person themselves didn't have any money. All right, I'm sorry about that. I'm still on. Yeah, the connection keeps dropping. So as I was saying, is that right? I want to see them catch somebody who was really planning to do something, right? Who was really planning to do something, because a lot of these acts that we hear, they're orchestrated. So like I said, it says the guy's name, he's a Pakistani. His name was Shahid Hussein. So he shows up at the masjid out of nowhere. And that's another thing, brothers and sisters, at your masjid, look out for people like that. If you are familiar with brothers and sisters at your masjid, right? Be on the lookout for new people. I'm not saying that you treat them bad, but just keep your eye. When you have new people show up at your masjid, unfortunately, I know Allah says to avoid suspicion, right? I know Allah says to, so I'm not saying that, but let's just put it, be alert. Be alert. right? In the Quran, Allah says to avoid suspicion of your brothers and sisters. But however, be alert. If you see somebody who's new and they all of a sudden start talking to people and running off at the mouth about stuff, watch that person. Watch that person, because the shaitan is devious, and this is how they do it. So this dude showed up. He showed up at their masjid, and unfortunately, I don't know what happened with the leadership or whatever, but he got in there and he starts talking to the brothers. He's new guy, and they let him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you gotta watch that. You gotta watch that. So it says he just showed up at the masjid, right? And then what happened here? Worshippers took note of his fine cars and fancy clothes. So here's what happened to this guy. This guy was a criminal, basically. It says Hussein, convicted of fraud for helping illegal aliens get driver's licenses and desperately trying to avoid deportation, had turned FBI informant. And that's another thing that they do. They even did it back in the days with the Black Panthers and stuff like that. What they do is they get somebody who has a criminal record already. They get a criminal, and they make a deal with the criminal. They say, okay, so we got you. You're guilty of fraud. You're a thief. You're a whatever. You want to lessen your punishment? Okay, here's what we need you to do. We're gonna make you an undercover informant. You're gonna go infiltrate the Muslims, infiltrate the Black Panthers, infiltrate, back in the day, infiltrate whatever black organization. And we want you to help us get these people set up or whatever. That's what they do. So here, that was him. So they do it with Muslims too. They got this dude. He probably wasn't a Muslim at all, right? He's a criminal. He was convicted of fraud. So he doesn't want to get deported. So he says, okay, I'll do what you guys want me to do, so I can have less punishment and I can stay in the country. So you got to be on your guard against this stuff. If your true nature is not about that kind of stuff, then don't fall for that, man. Don't fall for that stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever fall for that stuff, Like I remember, as a matter of fact, I told this to the FBI back when I lived in Virginia. So I'm gonna put this to you guys in public, because I said it to the FBI. Back when I used to live in Virginia, I used to be the president of the masjid over there. So, we met with the FBI. They came and they met with the leadership of the masjid and things like that, right? And sometimes back around after 9/11 and stuff, we got phone calls. Like I got a phone call one time from somebody. He claimed, I don't know who the brother was, but he called the masjid. He said that he was a member of the masjid community. I don't know. I don't even recognize the brother, but he claimed that somebody in the masjid or somebody in the community came and was talking to him about terrorist stuff, right? So I guess they wanted to see what I was going to say, what we're going to say. So I was like, bro, so okay, call the FBI, brother. I said, call the police, call the FBI, tell them, go, what are you calling me for? I said, I can't help you. I'm not an agent. You know what I mean? I'm not an authority. So I said, if somebody came, I said, call the FBI right away. And that was it. I was like, I'm not going to, I'm not falling for nothing. You're not going to talk me into nothing. I said, call the FBI right away. And I told the FBI the same thing. I told them about the incident. And I said, we had an incident where a guy called me, but I told him to call y'all. I told him to call y'all right away. Because I'm like, it's not going to be, you're not going to be no, man. It ain't going to be no setup. So this is what you got to do. This is what you got to be aware of. You got to watch out for that stuff like that. Don't let nobody in your masjid come and start talking that kind of stuff. Keep a, and that's what we did at our masjid too. We didn't allow any private meetings, right? You couldn't have any private meetings and stuff like that. We didn't allow anything, so that way nobody could try to, have meetings on their own and then get our masjid implicated in something. So we made sure nobody was allowed to have any private meetings or anything like that. If any meetings had to go through the leadership, you had to come through the board of directors, the president, etc. We didn't allow any private meetings or anything like that. So you got to be on your guard to avoid stuff like this, because if your masjid is lacking in security, not just security from people trying to attack, but lacking in security as far as what's going on in your masjid, this is the kind of stuff that can happen. And that's what this Hussein did. That's what he did, right? So it says, at Hussein's urging, Cromartie recruited 3 others: David Williams, a part-time student with a past drug rap who needed cash to get treatment for his brother's, it was his brother. I thought it was his mother. For his brother's liver cancer. paying a Haitian immigrant who Cromartie believed was a little slow. Somebody see that he was slow. So in other words, they recognized that the dude was a little, he wasn't too intelligent. So they said he's a sucker. We can catch him in this one. And onto Williams, a drug dealer who had served time. None of the four men, all broke, even owned a car. They were all poor. These guys were all poor. They had no money. So that means as I said, on their own, they would not have been able to do anything. Had no connections overseas, had no money for weapons, bombs, missiles, none of that. Completely fake orchestrated, man. All right. So it says Hussein promised them $250,000 is what Hussein promised them for a successful mission. So in other words, this was all at his coercion. This was all this agent Hussein. This was all at his own coercion. So basically, what it seems like is to show that he was a good sellout, like somebody just said, to show that he was a good sellout. He's coercing these brothers into this trap, so he can say, "Look, I'm a good servant to you guys. See, I'm a good servant. So I'm gonna." So he set all this stuff up because he couldn't find a real terrorist attack, a real terror plot on his own. He couldn't find a real one, and most of the time they can't find real ones, so they do this kind of stuff. All right. So, what the hell is this? So what does it say? So it says that and remember what I told you? Look, here it says it in the article. So he tries to get the four men to agree. It says all four men agreed to help under one condition. So look, this is what it says, just like I told you guys. All of them said they'll do it, but this is what they said. They said what? We don't want to hurt nobody. They actually said it. We don't want to hurt nobody. So basically, they're agreeing to do some type of vandalism, right? So they said, look, we'll do it, but we don't want to hurt nobody. Now, I don't know if this was included in the trial or whatever the case may be, but this shows you that they're not trying to, they don't want to harm innocent people, right? Their human nature is kicking in, and they know they're not really cool with this, so they're like, look, we don't want to hurt nobody. We just want to, if we're going to do it, maybe we'll damage some cars or damage the building, but we don't want to hurt nobody. That's the only condition that they agreed. So it says David Williams is heard telling Hussein on FBI hidden video footage, we want just to destroy property. We don't want to take no lives. So you hear that, right? So when you hear the stuff about the evil Muslim terrorists and all the stuff like that, these guys in their human nature was taking over, saying, look, we don't want to hurt nobody. We will just damage some property. But it says the foil terror plot was trumpeted as a textbook example of how a major investigation should be conducted by then Police Commissioner Ray Kelly. But Mike German, a former FBI agent not involved in the case, told the filmmakers the sting turned the men into people they were not. Did you hear that? An FBI agent, a former agent himself, admits that the sting operation turned these men into people that they were not. Now, I'm going to tie this into the case that we just heard about in San Francisco. Because guess what, brothers and sisters? Guess what? In the article, I'm looking at it right now, Channel 7, San Diego, NBC, the one that they said happened today or whatever, that they just arrested the guy in San Francisco. Guess what he said? Guess what he said? You just heard what the other brother said in the other one, right? That they didn't want to hurt nobody. Guess what he said? This also was a sting operation, and it appears that he really wasn't, on his own, wasn't going to do anything. So guess what happens with this one, right? Here's what happens in this one. It says what? Let's see. This is going to blow your mind. So first of all, first they said that he was like saying stuff online or whatever the case may be. Then some agent, some informant got in contact with him, right? But check it out. Once again, his human nature kicked in. Look what happens here, everybody. Where is it at? Let's see. So basically, he was talking to an agent, talking to the informant. The informant is, building him up, telling him, hey, we can get you to do this, blah, blah, blah. So I guess the guy is, again, stupid. He's running his mouth. He's saying, yeah, you could get, I need some pipe bombs and some powder and some nails and blah blah blah. But then check this out. Check this out. So then it says on December 18th, when the FBI employee tried to arrange a follow-up meeting, the suspect, his name is Jameson. I don't know what's his first name. His last name is Jameson. This is the one that happened today or whatever, the one they're talking about today. When they tried to have another meeting with him, he backed out of the meeting. He backed out, brothers and sisters. He backed out of the meeting. It says, but on December 18th, when the FBI employee tried to arrange a follow-up meeting, Jameson said that he was very busy tonight. He then backed out of the plan. He backed out. He said, you know what? You know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. It even says it in the article. He says, quote, I also don't think I can do this after all, Jameson wrote. I've reconsidered. I reconsidered. So he's saying, I don't want to do it. I changed my mind. So I'm trying to figure out, why did they still arrest him? Maybe because he had already, because I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out, why did they still arrest him? If to me that shows that if he says, you know what, I don't want to do it, I'm backing out. Why is he still in trouble? Is it because the first time he initially was talking all that garbage? That's why you got to watch it. You can't be gullible like this. You see what I'm saying? You can't be gullible. You can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't do it, man. You can't be gullible like that. So I'm just wondering, I guess maybe they still arrested him because but I don't know. Can his defense lawyers use that? The fact that he says, you know what? It actually says, I reconsidered. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. It says it in the article. It says, I also don't think I can do this after all, Jameson wrote. I've reconsidered. So look at this. The employee is still trying to get him to do it, though, just like the other one. The employee, the undercover informant, is still trying to get him. And it says the employee said, quote, we can only do Allah's will, according to the document. Jameson responded, Inshallah, one day I can, but I can't. So again, he refuses 3 times. He backs out of the plan. He says, I can't do it after all. I've reconsidered. And then he says, you know what? I still can't. I can't do it. So, and then it says on December 20th. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. If he backed out, why did they still send the agents after him? I don't know. But it says on December 20th, a search warrant was served at a residence in Modesto. FBI agents recovered 3 firearms. I mean, that's not really a big deal. I mean, you know, if the man, if he is allowed to have a gun, I don't know why they're putting that in there. See, but that's how they hype it up. That's how they hype it up. Oh, they found guns, but I mean, is he licensed to carry? You know, I don't know. He's in California, so I don't know what California gun laws are. But I mean, having guns, if you know, in the United States, you're allowed to have a firearm. So, you know, I don't. But that's how they make it sound more sinister. Oh, look, they found guns at his house and blah blah blah. Maybe he had the license to carry them. You know what I'm saying? Because they say he didn't have it. There was no criminal record, as far as I know, from the dude. You know, they said they found what, along with ammunition, fireworks, a will. Now I don't, you know, who knows? They said they found a will and what appeared to be a suicide martyrdom letter. I don't know that. You know, it doesn't make any sense. If he's saying that he can't do it and he's backing out, then why'd they find a letter? See. So, you know, you don't know what to believe, man. To me, that's a contradiction. If he's telling the agent, I'm backing out, I don't want to do it, I can't do it, how are they finding a suicide letter, supposedly a supposed suicide letter? But you know what? A lot of times, all of that, excuse my language, is a bunch of bullshit. I'm just going to say it. You know what I mean? Because I remember, I don't know how old you guys are, or if you remember, but how many of you remember after 9/11, they said that they found letters or something from some of the bombers? Like there was one of the bombers. What was that one they always showed in the news? The Egyptian guy. They said that from the Egyptian guy, I forgot his name. They said they found a letter in his car, a suicide letter, something like that in his car, where and you knew it was fake because it contradicted the teachings of Islam. They said they supposedly found that he had a golden suit. He had a golden suit they found a golden suit. And they found a letter, you know, a supposed letter. And the golden suit in the letter was supposed to be that he wanted to wear the suit in paradise. I'm like, that's how you know that is a bunch of BS, because we don't believe in that you can take your stuff from this earth with you to paradise. So supposedly the Egyptian, the guy, I forgot what was his name, the one from one of the supposed 9/11 hijackers. They said that he had packed a golden suit, like a suit made out of like a gold color suit, because he wanted to wear the suit in paradise. So, oh my goodness, I'm laughing because of the blatant stupidity. Now, non-Muslims, they don't know about this, but as a Muslim, you know that it was completely garbage, because we don't believe in it. We don't believe that you can take your earthly possessions with you to paradise, right? We don't believe you can take it. But supposedly he had packed a golden suit that, since he was going to allegedly martyr himself, which in Islam we don't believe that committing suicide is martyrdom anyway, but he allegedly packed a golden suit that he was going to wear in paradise for the virgins, for the 72 virgins. So I'm like, who makes this stuff up? That's how you know that it was fabricated. Because you're like, come on, man. You trying to tell me that this guy was supposedly a Muslim extremist, and he didn't know that we don't believe that you can take your stuff with you to paradise, right? That he didn't know that. He didn't know that we don't believe that you can take your stuff with you to paradise. He didn't know that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the one, Muhammad Atta. There you go. That's it, Muhammad Atta. Yes, they said Muhammad Atta packed a golden suit. They found his alleged letter where he said that he packed the suit because he was going to wear the suit in paradise with the virgins and all that. I'm like, come on, man, who made this up? Whoever made this up, they gotta freshen up on their Islamic studies, because as far as I know, there is no sect of Islam, there's no part of Islam that teaches that we believe that we can take our stuff with us to paradise. Now, the ancient Egyptians believed that, right? Maybe that's why they did it. Maybe they figured, well, look, this guy is Egyptian, so let's throw in a little ancient Egyptian, let's throw a little ancient Egyptian beliefs in there. So let's say that he packed his golden suit, because the ancient Egyptians believed that, right? The ancient Egyptians believed that they, like the pharaohs, they buried themselves with their possessions because they believed that they could take that stuff with them. They buried them with their gold, their jewelry, their treasures. They buried them with their boats and stuff like that, because they believed that in the afterlife you could take your stuff with you. You could take your possessions with you. You know what I'm saying? So, but like I'm saying, I'm saying all this to say that, yeah, I don't know if I can believe this. They claimed that they found the letter, but he said he didn't want to do it. So why would he write the letter? Why would he write a martyrdom letter if he's telling them, you know what, I reconsidered, I can't do it, I'm not going to do it, I don't want to do it? Why would he have the letter written? You know what I mean? So you can't, who knows, man? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he was going to try he was going to try to impress them with his golden suit. But like I said, that's how you know that it was complete BS, man. That's how you know it was complete BS. But, the people who they have writing this stuff, they don't know no better. That's how you know it wasn't from a Muslim, man. You know what I'm saying? Can you put those? You know what? I will do that. That's a good idea. When the video is done, I'm going to put the links to these articles so everybody can see it themselves. So you can see. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So that's what I wanted to tie into, is that what I found interesting when I read the article about the recent one is that he says he doesn't want to do it. He clearly says, I reconsidered. I don't want to do it. I don't think I can do it. He backs out of the plan. He says, nah, I can't do it. So when they throw it in there, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's really contradictory. So then when they throw it on the news, they act like they did something. So I'm like, how did you do something if, according to your own report, he backed out of the plan? So that means you really didn't stop. You didn't stop nothing, right? So that means you really didn't stop a terrorist plot, because there was none in the first place. The man said, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. I reconsidered. So why are they putting it up on the media like, once again, we're the heroes. We're super guys. We stopped them. We stopped the terror. No, you didn't stop anything. The guy said he wasn't going to do it. He backed out of the plan. He backed out of your plan. So, and then in the rest of the article, again, it contradicts itself, because then when they arrest him, allegedly, Now he's talking junk. Now he's talking crap about that he supports ISIS. All of a sudden he's back talking like he's Mr. Tough Guy again. So I'm like, it just doesn't, it doesn't follow. You know what I'm saying? It says FBI agents spoke with Jameson after his arrest. During the interview, Jameson stated his support of ISIS and terrorism and discussed aspects of the plan to carry out an attack, noting that he would be happy if an attack was carried out. But according to the thing, he backed out of it. So, you know what I mean? Like, this is weird. It's weird. So how is he saying that he didn't want to do it, but then now he's blatantly telling the agents that, yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, like, who does that? You know what I mean? Like, who does that? If you get arrested, who like starts, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I wanted to do it. Yeah, yeah, I'm a criminal. Yeah, I want to rob banks. Yeah, I want to rob people. Yeah, Mr. FBI agent. You know, who does that? Like, who does that? What kind of criminal does that? I don't know, man. I'm just very suspicious. I'm just very suspicious of it. I'm just very suspicious of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna put those links in the description area of the one from 1993, where he was charging that they could have stopped that bombing because he was supposed to let them make fake bombs with fake powder, but he was pulled off the job and somebody let them make real bombs, and obviously they knew about it, so that means they could have stopped it. But for whoever did it, somebody let them make real bombs and let them set the bombs up when they were aware of it. Now, see, what happened was that they didn't know to the public. They said they let it like the bombing just happened. But then when Mr. Salim released those tapes, that's when the whole thing got blown out, because people, you know what I'm saying? Because they didn't know he was recording. So when he released those tapes, now everybody was like, oh, so wait a minute. So this wasn't a real bombing? Like, y'all could have stopped this? Y'all knew this was going on? You see what I'm saying? So this is real dangerous stuff, man. Real dangerous stuff. So I'm gonna put the link for that. I'm gonna put the link for that documentary, the Newburgh 4. Okay, like I said, it's on YouTube. You can look that documentary up on, unless it got taken down. I don't know. You know, it may have got taken down, copyright. But look it up. I'm gonna put the link. I'm gonna see if I can find the actual link to the video, and if I find it, I'm going to put it in the description. I'm also going to link you to the article about the Newburgh 4, and I'm going to link this article too about the one who they just Jameson dude. Okay, you want to think about? Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find that too about the golden suit, because I remember that Sean Hannity had talked about it, right? Sean Hannity from Fox News. He talked about it I remember him mentioning that. That's when I heard. I was like, what, a golden suit? And he packed it. He thought he was going to wear it in paradise. I'm like, what? I was like, man, this is definitely that propaganda. This is definitely that propaganda. So, wow, alhamdulillah, we did another hour show once again, another good show. So yeah, brother, we're gonna go ahead and end it right here. I'm gonna put the links in the description area for all this information, so you can see it, so you can have access to it yourselves. But just like I said, make sure that you're on the record for condemning. So I'm gonna say it again. And like I said, I'm on the record. You can go to my channel. Anybody who's watching this, any agents, whoever, you can go to my channel and you will see that I have videos from years back condemning and speaking against any type of terrorism, right? I told Muslims to stay away from it. I told Muslims don't fall for it. Don't be naive. Don't let nobody talk you into it. I've already said it. Matter of fact, I even made a video a few years back when there were some reports that ISIS was allegedly like kind of putting it out there that they were trying to call on any Muslim to go ahead and do some kind of terrorist act. So I made a video about it. You can go back on my channel and look. I made a video about it where I was telling Muslims don't fall for that. Because to me, I looked at that. That's like, to me, that was like some kind of like it was some kind of like propaganda set up to try to get a lone wolf to do something, and then they can say, oh, see the evil Muslims, see, look at them, see, we got to watch out for these people. So I say, look, don't any Muslim fall for that. Ignore any calls from any group that's telling you that a Muslim who live in a Western country or really anywhere to carry out any act on their behalf. Don't you ever listen to that. Don't you ever fall for that. That's just a ploy. That's just a plot, because, you know, they know that there are people out there who are stupid enough, naive enough, and gullible enough that might do it. You see, who might do something like that. They say, look, we can just put it out there and somebody will do it on our behalf. They may not be part of ISIS, but they'll act out on our behalf. So never fall for that, okay? Make sure you talk to your children, your young ones, your teenagers. Make sure you tell the people in your masjid, you yourselves, watch out for stuff like that. Don't let any stranger who claims he's a Muslim come up to you that you don't know and start talking to you about, or even somebody you know. You never know. Even people you know. You never know. You might think you know somebody, and you never know. They could be a sleeper agent in your masjid trying to set you up. So don't let anybody ever come to you and start talking to you about them. Make sure you shut it down right away. Shut it down, because you don't know who they are. Make sure you shut it down. Be like, nope, brother, sister, no. No, 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 we don't want to hear that. We're not for that. That's wrong. That's not part of Islam. You got to make sure you shut it down right away. And if you have to, report that person to the leadership of your masjid. Okay, make sure you report them. Make sure as an individual you shut it down. Don't let nobody talk to you about that stuff. Don't be stupid enough to let somebody get you to start talking about it. You know what I mean? If you see it, recognize it and you call it out. You understand? You call it out. Make sure you talk to your teenagers the same way. You know what I'm saying? Tell them, look, you know, don't let nobody come and start talking to you about this stuff. You know, and you just got to be alert. Masjids, you got to be alert. Make sure you don't allow any private meetings. Don't allow people who you don't know to come and start talking about stuff. Make sure everything passes through the leadership. There should be no unauthorized meetings, no private meetings, nobody giving private talks and none of that stuff, because you don't want your masjid to get implicated in some stuff that they had no, you know what I mean, that they really don't deserve to be, you know, involved in. They also claim Bin Laden had a porn collection. Yeah, those are the funny things about all of that too, is that, yeah, these guys, even with the 9/11 ones, they claim that they were at a bar the night before, right? They claimed they were at a strip bar the night before. They even claim one of them left the Quran at the bar. So these are the things that don't make sense to me, because I'm like, listen, right or wrong, if you think that you are going to see Allah the next day because you're about to kill yourself in a terrorist act, wouldn't you want your last deeds? Because that's what Islam teaches anyway, that what? Make sure your last deeds are deeds in favor of Islam, right? Islam teaches that make sure that you want you pray to Allah that that you die as a Muslim, right? Isn't that what we teach in Islam? That you pray to Allah, please Allah, allow me to die as a Muslim. Meaning, let my last actions be that of Islam. I don't want to die, you know, robbing somebody. I don't want to die harming innocent people. I don't want to die, you know, at a bar drinking. I don't want to die at a strip club or doing something sinful. I pray, we all pray that when we die in a state of Islam. So if that was true what those guys did, why would they do that? Why would they make their last deeds a strip bar? Why would you club? Or drinking at a bar, or messing with prostitutes? Because these are the things that they told us. And you're right. Who just said that? Somebody just said that they're making a mockery out of us, actually. You know what I'm saying? That this is actually right. It is used to mock. Yeah, right. It's used exactly. Bilal, Islam's apologetic. Exactly. That's what it is. Those of us who know better, we recognize that this is a mockery. They're mocking the ignorance of people. We Muslims who know better, we like, man, come on, a real Muslim, you ain't gonna go to no damn strip club the night before, right? Or even if you was gonna do something like that, you want your last deeds to be righteous, right? You might spend the night praying or something. You might spend the night reading Quran, right? Again, I'm not condoning it. I want everybody to be clear. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying hypothetically, if you thought that you were gonna do something like that, and you thought last deeds to be good deeds, so you probably spend the night reading the Quran. You probably spend the night praying, right? Doing good deeds or something like that. Maybe you say, you know what? I'm going to spend the night. I'm going to go around New York City and I'm going to feed the homeless people before I do this. Again, I'm not saying that Islam condones that. Islam does not condone terrorism or suicide bombing or harming innocent people. I'm just giving you a hypothetical situation to show you the mockery of the claims that they made. So all that stuff is a mockery. They're saying that these guys were at the club, that they left, and then they said one of them left the Quran at the bar. They said one of them left his Quran at the bar after he was drinking. Really? So he disrespected the Quran. He's supposed to be a radical. He's supposed to be an extremist, and he disrespects the Quran by leaving it at the bar. Really? And then the golden suit thing, the golden suit, all this stuff is a mockery. Muslims who know better, we were able to recognize the mockery. But for people who don't know better, they get fooled by it. They probably like, man, these people are crazy. You know what I'm saying? But of course, that's the image that they like, right? To promote that the Muslims are these people are crazy. But again, I say all that to say is that, be alert. Be alert. Don't fall for none of that stuff. Watch what you say. Even if you're speaking in, even if you have, your disagreements about the policy, government policy, foreign policy, or whatever, you have a right to speak about those things. But just make sure that you don't involve in your speech any type of threat of violence or anything like that, right? You have a right as an American citizen to be upset about the foreign policy and speak. I do that, right? I speak about the foreign policy, but I don't ever condone violence, right? I have my issues and I speak out against the injustice. I speak out against the wrongdoing and the corruption and whatever the case may be. And that's my right as a citizen, right? I have that right of free speech to speak, as long as I'm not speaking violence or anything like that, or threatening terror, which I never do. I always condemn it. But you gotta, sometimes some people watch out. You gotta watch out though. So if you do have issues, watch how you say what you say. See what I'm saying? Make sure that you speak it clearly and keep it in the context of your grievance with the corruption or with the foreign policy or whatever the case may be. But don't allow it to get into that realm where you can get charged with speaking, terrorism or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, again, brothers and sisters, masjid leadership, be alert. Make sure you have security, not only for defense of your masjid, but for, to defend your masjid against stuff like that, against people who are informants, agent saboteurs, right? Or agent provocateurs. These are people who come in like the Hussein guy and try to, coerce people in your masjid to talk a certain way or say something or do something. Be on alert for that kind of stuff. Brothers and sisters, talk to your kids, your teenage kids. Maybe you have some teenagers. They maybe have grievances. Again, talk to them, put them on alert. Make sure you tell them, watch what they say and all that, and just make sure that you don't want nobody getting caught up in or set up in a sting operation like this. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to put the links in the description of this video once it finishes and it processes. I want to thank those who donated tonight. I appreciate that. Those of you who donated tonight, may Allah reward you. Appreciate that. And again, and if anybody, as I always say every week, if you want to donate, you can do it through the super chat like some people did tonight. Once again, I thank you and appreciate that. If you can't donate at the moment, the link is in my website where you can, on my channel, where you can click on the website and you can donate there. Oh, and by the way, let me see. Somebody had a question earlier about Brother Hamza, right? Brother Hamza, let me see. What was your question again? Let me see. I can pull it up. All right. So yeah, let's take a few questions before we close out. Let's see. What was that question? Somebody had a question about. All right, Akil 51 said, Brother Shadid, I want to ask you about Hamza Abdul Malik. He was a Muslim apologist back in the day. You were a student. Oh man, okay, you were a student of his back then. He now is a Quran only Muslim. What do you think about that? I've spoken to him. Since then, yeah, he was my teacher. He taught me like my apologetics and stuff like that. I learned about doing the debates and stuff like that. And then after that, I didn't have too much contact with him until I had my first debate. When I had my first debate was when I contacted with him, and that's when he had told me about it. He told me about that he had taken the Quran only position. And I've had some conversations with him after that. I haven't had a contact with him for a while. Last time I spoke with him was maybe 2 years ago? Maybe 2 years ago? I don't know. 2 years ago. Yeah, maybe 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. So because I wanted to understand. So I spoke to him about it, and he explained why he changed and he took that position. You know what I'm saying? As far as he still believes in the messenger. He still believes that Allah, that Allah is one and all those different things like that. But he has taken the Quran only position, And what was some other things that, like I said, I spoke to him, and we went over some things. He showed me some things, and I gave him some questions, and he showed me some things why he showed me certain verses from the Quran of why he takes that position. You know what I'm saying? So at first I didn't want to hear it. And at first I was like, you know what? No, I'm not even trying to hear anything. But then I said, well, you know what? Because now I started seeing more people. So I said, well, let me learn about it. We learn about how to debate the people from the Bible. So I said, let me hear what he has to say. So, so that's basically what it is. I haven't spoken to him in a while. I haven't heard from him in a while. We haven't had any contact in a while. But that's what his thing is now. And he doesn't really do the like the Muslim. He actually wants to debate a Muslim, in fact. So if anybody's interested, he said this. Like I said, I haven't seen him about maybe a year and a half ago. But at the time I spoke to him, he said he wanted to actually debate a Muslim on that issue about Hadith, Quran and Hadith, or Quran only. So if anybody's interested, he was saying that he wanted to have a debate. He said he's not really interested in debating the Christians and stuff anymore because he already did that. His new thing now is he said he wanted to debate a Muslim. He wanted to debate somebody on a Muslim about the issue. Okay, so what else was said here? That's so suspect. Yeah. Okay. Alto Lolich, again, I want to thank you, bro. I want to thank you for that. Thank you for that donation, bro. Appreciate that. Let's see, what other questions were there? Any other questions? Well, some apologists are in the building. Stand up. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Yeah, exactly, King Kareem. Exactly. Why would a Muslim bring the Quran to a bar? Exactly. Let's see. Do you think, this is from Mo Shaf? Do you think Jesus only came for the Jews from reading the Bible, and Muhammad? Okay. All right. So do I think Jesus? Yeah, actually, yes, I do. I think he only came for the Jews. Because when you read in the New Testament, you see that his message is really particularly for the Jews, right? Like in Matthew chapter 10, I believe that's chapter 10, verse 5, where he says, well, first of all, when he's talking to the disciples, and he tells them, go nowhere among the Gentiles, right? Go nowhere among the Gentiles, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So he tells them right there, point blank, don't go amongst the Gentiles. Go only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Right. Then he also, if you remember, that's also in Matthew, right, where the Canaanite woman comes to him and he tells her the same thing. He says, I have been sent, but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So you have that there. So yeah, I believe it's clear. And then even when you look in the book of Acts, right, even in the book of Acts, you see that the disciples, after Jesus is gone, they still continue at the first part of Acts. They only go to the Jews. You read over and over again that they keep going. It says they go to the Jews. They went to the synagogue where all the Jews hang out. They kept going to places where only the Jews hang out. The only time that they changed was when Peter claims that he had a vision. And this is what also suspects me that Jesus never told them to go to all the world. Because in Acts, later on in Acts, I think it's Acts chapter 11, I believe it is. I think it's chapter 11. I think so. Where Peter, where they change from going to Jews and start going to other people is when Peter claims that he had a vision of a blanket that came down from heaven with a bunch of different kind of animals on it that the Jews don't eat. And the voice, there's a voice that he hears when the blanket comes down and says for him to eat the different kind of animals. But he doesn't want to eat because, you know, of the Jewish dietary laws. But the voice tells him that he shouldn't, something like, you know, don't call something that God made clean or unclean or something like that. So from there, he understands that it's okay now to go to the Gentiles. And then when the vision is over, he opens his eyes or wakes up from the vision and there's some Gentiles there and he preaches the word, the gospel to them. So to me, but the argument that I always bring about that is that why did Peter need that vision? Because if in the Gospels, if Jesus had supposedly said to his disciples, go now and teach the gospel to all the world, why did Peter need the vision, right? Peter should have just already, all of Jesus' disciples should have remembered that Jesus told them that they could teach everybody, and they just should have started going. And what further suspects it is that the other disciples, they hear that Peter was hanging out with the Gentiles, and they argue with him, right? They take issue with Peter. They say, Peter, you know, there's a word going around that you're hanging out with the Gentiles. You know, what are you doing? Why are you hanging out with the unclean people? So to me, this would have been the place where Peter should have said, my brothers, don't you remember? Jesus gave us the Great Commission. Jesus said, go to all the world and preach the gospel, right? But instead, they don't seem to have any recollection that Jesus told them that. And so instead of Peter saying, brothers, remember Jesus said, teach the gospel to everybody. Instead of using that as an argument, Peter instead says, brothers, I was in the city of Joppa and I had a vision of a blanket that came down from heaven with a bunch of animals on it, right? So that's Peter's proof for him to go to the Gentiles. So, you know, to me, I'm like, well, that means Jesus must have never said to go to all the world, because to me, that would have been the strongest evidence, right? It's like in Islam, when we use evidence for something, we say the prophet said it, right? If a Muslim brother sees me doing something and he says, hey, brother, you know, what are you doing? Why are you doing it like that or whatever? We use what? We either going to refer to the Quran, or you're going to say, well, I saw the prophet. I read the prophet did it, right? You're going to refer your evidence back to, you know, either something from the Quran, or you're going to say, well, the prophet was known to do this as your proof, right? You're not going to say, well, brother, you know, I was at home one day and I heard a voice and the voice told me I could do this, right? We know as a Muslim, that's not going to work. You're not, that wouldn't convince another Muslim that what you're doing is legitimate. You're either going to say something from the Quran, or you're going to say, well, I heard the prophet did it, or something of that sort. But you're not going to say, well, brother, you know, I was sitting at home one day and a voice told me that I could start, you know, doing this or doing that in Islam. So I use that as an example with Peter, that when the other disciples asked Peter why he was with the Gentiles, why didn't he just say, my brothers, don't you remember? Jesus, the prophet, told us to go ahead and preach the gospel to all the world. But instead, Peter doesn't use that evidence, and the other disciples don't seem to know that Jesus said that. Because I'm like this, how could all 12, or excuse me, 11, because remember Judas was gone. How could all 11 disciples forget that Jesus said that, right? That doesn't make any sense. You could understand maybe one or two forgot, right? If hypothetically, I mean, even that's kind of hard, but at least you could say, okay, one or two. But how could all of the disciples not remember that Jesus allegedly said, go and preach the gospel to all the world? Right? That's kind of hard to believe that they all would have forgotten that, because that's something so substantial, right? If your master teacher leaves you and those are his last words, you're not going to forget that. Because that's so profound. You're going to remember that, hey, look, before Jesus left us, he told us we could now preach the gospel to everybody. So that's not something that you would forget, because it's a major thing that he told you. Yet, when you read the book of Acts, the disciples seem to have no knowledge whatsoever that Jesus told them that. So that's why, so my answer to your question, King, is that, yes, I believe that his mission was only to the Jews. His mission was only to the Jews. And if you really read the details of the New Testament, it proves that. Even when you look at the book of Revelation, even in the book of Revelation, it's still only the Jews that are being saved. You know about the 144,000, right? So even then, it's the Jews. Even in the book of Revelation, is you know, these followers, it's 144,000 Jews that are allowed to enter the New Jerusalem that comes from heaven, from God. You see? So, you know, so yeah, I think that, yeah, it shows, again, when you read the detail, you got to kind of get around all the other stuff that they put in there. But yeah, and see also too about the Great Commission, if you remember, the Great Commission is added to it, right? Because Mark's gospel ends the what they call the earlier version, the earliest recorded version of Mark. It ends at Mark chapter 16, verse 8, where the story ends where the tomb is empty. The women go to the tomb is empty. It says the women ran away afraid, and they never told anybody what happened. So according to the earliest versions of Mark, there's no after death appearance. Jesus doesn't appear after he's dead or after the so-called resurrection. He just disappears. The tomb is empty. The women go there. None of the other disciples went. It says the women went. The women go to the temple. The tomb is empty. The women run away. And it says the women never told anybody what happened. So that means nobody knows that the tomb was empty according to the earliest versions of Mark. It's then in the additional version of Mark where they added the extra verses where now Jesus appears after the resurrection. He's talking to people and all this stuff. And then Matthew is said to be a copy of Mark with a few additions to the story. So it appears that Matthew must have copied off of the later version of Mark that adds the extra verses after 16 verse 8, which is 9 through 20 or 9 through 21. So Matthew, whoever wrote Matthew, must have copied off of the later version of Mark, and there it has this what they call the Great Commission. But as I said, it appears that the Great Commission is a forgery. By the way, I learned that from Brother Hamza, by the way, right? I learned that from Brother Hamza because he wrote a little book where he makes that point to show that it appears that that Matthew, where he gives the Great Commission, is a forgery. And as I mentioned to you about the book of Acts, which shows that the apostles have no knowledge of a Great Commission. And Peter also has no knowledge of it because, again, Peter says that his proof for going to the Gentiles was the vision that he had rather than the Great Commission of Jesus. So this shows that that part of Matthew could be very well a forgery that was added later because the apostles seem to have no knowledge of the Great Commission. All right. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Any more before we sign out? Let's see. Let me see what other things here. Let's see. When you debated Anthony Rogers about Christianity being polytheistic, what was he inferring when he asked to take your Quran? I don't remember. When he asked to take your Quran, seemed rather creepy. It was when he said you should throw the Quran out because it differentiates Christianity. Wait a minute. It was when he said you should throw the Quran out because it differentiates Christianity from polytheism. He then suggested you should give it to him, but I didn't get what he was referring. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember that part of the debate. Let me see. You said so. Wait, say it again. I'm trying to see the text. So when I'm doing this, I'm trying to see the text. It shows the screen, but then it disappears for a little while. So I'm trying to get it to show back up. Okay. It was when he said you should throw the Quran out because the Quran differentiates. Okay, so I guess from what you're saying is that he was trying to say in the debate that somehow the Quran, I guess, doesn't claim that Christianity is polytheism, which is false. Which is false because, as you know, in the Quran, it actually does. What surah is that? I believe it makes it more emphatic statement in. I believe is it Surah 98. It's either Surah 98 or Surah 96, where it makes a definitive statement about them being, polytheist or mushriks. So he's actually wrong about that. So he was wrong about that. I don't know if I addressed it in the debate or not, but yeah, he's definitely wrong about that. You know what I mean? Yeah, the Quran refers to the Christians and Jews as people of the book. It gives them that distinction as people of the book, but nonetheless, it still charges them that they have associated partners to Allah. So just because it gives them, it doesn't, on a general basis refer to them as disbelievers or kuffar or anything like that, and gives them the designation as people of the book. It still makes charges against them. It still charges them as, associating partners to Allah. It still makes charges against them of denying the truth and things like that. So yeah, they're called people of the book, but nonetheless, it still charges them with associating partners to Allah. So he's definitely wrong in that regard. He's definitely wrong in that regard. Okay. Anything else? Oh, let me see. Anything else? Fox News also claimed Anwar al-Awlaki regularly visited prostitutes. Oh, they did? I didn't know that. I never heard that one about him. What was interesting too about Anwar al-Awlaki is strange too, is that he had been invited to the Pentagon a couple of times to speak about Islam. So it's interesting that then all of a sudden he was like, public enemy number one on their list. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. It's very weird, man. It's very weird how these connections they have these connections with these people, and then these people turn around and turn out, it's weird, man. It's very weird. What was that? Also, I didn't catch a response when David Wood insultingly accused you of committing shirk because you said Muslims shouldn't take non-Muslims as guardians. Catch a response when David Wood insultingly accused you of committing shirk because you said Muslims shouldn't take non-Muslims as guardians. He accused me of committing shirk because I said that? Yeah, I'd have to watch the debate again because I don't remember. But I don't see how could he charge me with committing shirk for doing that? I don't understand that. Because you said Muslims shouldn't take non-Muslims as guardians. So he accused me of committing shirk because I said that? I may have to go back. I haven't seen those debates in a while, man. So I don't even remember some of the stuff. I remember some of the stuff, but I don't recall that. I don't recall that one. So I'd have to go back and look and see exactly what the case. But I don't see how you could charge me with shirk for saying that. You know what I mean? I don't see how you could charge me with shirk for saying that. I don't get it. I don't get it. But let's see what else. What was the next thing said? Is there historical evidence which proves the kingdom of Israel and Israelites ever existed? I don't know about as far as their existence like that, but of course there is evidence that about the buildings, maybe Solomon's temple. There's evidence for that. I believe, archaeological evidence that the temple existed and things of that nature. But as far as like some of the stories about the Israelites being in the desert or the wilderness for 40 years and all that stuff like that, archaeologists have said they found no evidence of it. They haven't found any like artifacts out in the wilderness of that area where they said they were supposed to be at. They haven't found anything buried out there, any artifacts, any bowls, any clay pots or anything. So they said they haven't found anything that proves that anybody was out in the wilderness, as far as that. Another interesting thing too is that there also is no evidence that the Egyptians kept them as enslaved. Like, like when you look at the Egyptian hieroglyphs, there's no record. The hieroglyphs don't show any drawings or any record that any Israelites or any, were kept as captives or slaves or anything like that. So I found that very interesting as well, that there's no, the Egyptians have no record, the ancient Egyptians, that, people called Israelites were kept as captives for some period of time and stuff like that. So, so as far as historical evidence about that, yeah, it's kind of scant, in that regard with that stuff. There might be some other things. Like I said, there's evidence of Solomon's temple, and things like that. But beyond that, yeah, it's not really, you know what I'm saying? He said, if you take that interpretation of the Arabic word for guardians instead of friends, then when Allah uses the word again. Oh, okay. Let's see. Then when Allah uses the word again in a separate verse, you are therefore saying Allah needs guardians. I believe I didn't address that in the video. I didn't address that during the debate. I vaguely remember that. But I thought I addressed that. I thought I addressed it. You know what I mean? I thought I addressed it. Because I gave the two Arabic words for, awliya and the word for friend in Arabic, because it's a different word, right? The Arabic word for friend and guardian, they're two different words. So that the word that's used, awliya, is clear that it's not talking about a friend, right? It's clear that it's not talking about a friend. Because it comes from the root word wali. Awliya comes from the root word wali. I believe I said that during the debate, right? The root awliya is the plural, guardians, and wali is the singular of it. So that's the root word of it, or wali. Wali is a guardian, right? It's your guardian or your manager or your caretaker or something of this sort. Whereas a friend is different. So I believe I addressed that in debate. But his argument, it didn't hold any. It didn't hold any weight. You know what I mean? It didn't hold any weight to it, because I believe I addressed it and explained it. So him charging shirk, it didn't hold any weight. It didn't hold any weight. What else? Trying to get the okay. They told Jesus they were enslaved to no man. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm more than likely, I'm sure I would have addressed it. Yeah, it's non sequitur fallacy because he uses poor reasoning to come. Yeah, that's the thing too, right? Is that they see, and what they like to do too, is they like to play what they call appeal to authority. They like to play appeal to authority, which means that what I would assume that he would have done in that debate is he would have said, well, look, you see, the Muslim scholar translated as friend, and you're going against the Muslim scholar. That's something that I would have assumed that he would have done. You see what I'm saying? They say, oh, see, look, the Muslim scholar translated as friend, but you're disagreeing with the Muslim scholar, so you're wrong. You're doing some kind of weak argument like that. But I always tell them that, look, man, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? I said, look, this is what the word is. And I can even show other translations that use the word guardian instead of friend. So you can't use the scholar game with me, because I'm going to be able to show you other scholars that translated it as guardian and explain. And matter of fact, let me make it clear. These arguments that I put forward, whenever I bring these things, I'm not saying these on my own. I've done the research. I make sure that I have scholars backing up my position, right? There may be a difference of opinion on it, sure, but I'm gonna make sure that if I'm bringing that argument, that it's not just Brother Shadid thinking that I've understood it on my own and I'm bringing, no, I make sure that all these things that I'm saying, that I have scholars to back up my position. That way they can't run that scholar game, because that's what they like to do, see? They like to play that game with some Muslims and play the scholar game. Like, oh, but your scholars say this. And I'd be like, well, I can show you scholars that say that position is wrong. I said, so what if I show you scholars who say that position is wrong? Then what you gonna tell me? So that's why the scholar, don't let them play the scholar game with you. Make sure they bring the evidence. See, the evidence speaks for itself. Whether it's a scholar, evidence speaks for itself. So I showed him in that discussion all the evidence. I said, look, here's the Arabic word. Here's the Arabic, language sources backing it up. And look, here's scholars too. Here are Muslim scholars saying, yeah, the word is guardian. It means a guardian here. And so don't let them run those kind of games on you, so, all right. But if I get a chance, I'll have to look back at the debate and see. All right. Right, exactly. That's how so yeah, don't let them play that game with you. Don't let them play that game with you. Make sure it's always about the evidence, man. It's about the evidence, right? Because that's a logical fallacy. It's called appeal to authority, where, in other words, where somebody tries to validate their position by appealing to, by saying, oh, well, a scholar said it. Just because a scholar says something doesn't automatically mean fact. It doesn't automatically mean truth. See, so don't let them run that appeal to authority game on you. It's the evidence that matters. See, the evidence is what speaks, not because you said a scholar said something. That's a false fact. That's a fallacy. That doesn't mean it's true because a supposed scholar said something. So make sure you have the evidence, the facts to back it up. So that's why I said I look at the language books. I got the Arabic to English dictionary, the lexicon, all of that to break it down and show you. And on top of that, I still have scholars that show that position is right. That a word means guardian, and it's meaning like don't take them as your guardians, because the word for friend is a different word. Right? Like what's the name? Like Prophet Abraham, right? He's Khalilullah, right? What's that mean? He's the friend of Allah. He's not called Wali Allah, right? Abraham's nickname is not Wali Allah, it's Khalilullah. Friend, the friend of Allah. Abraham is known as the friend of Allah. He's not called Wali Allah. You see? So, don't let them run those games on you, man. Don't let them run those games. All right? All right, well, looks like we got all the questions there, right? I think that's everything. So I want to thank all of you for showing up tonight. By the way, Khalil, is Khalil still here? Akil, was it Khalil or Akil? It was Akil, right? Akil. Chops and chili. Yeah, right. Yeah. Is that the brother Akil that's been making the other videos against David Wood? Is that you? If he's still there, if he's still in the room. Because I've been saying for the last few videos that I want to get in contact with you and hook up with you so we can, do some work together. So if that is you, bro, yeah, we need to hook up, man. That's not you. Okay, so that's not you. All right. Well, again, if the brother, I know I keep saying it every week. Wallahi, brothers and sisters, it's busy, man. I'm busy. I'm just trying to, like I said, trying to get these bills paid. So my time is limited. I need to really just I need to put some time aside to try to do it, but it's hard, man. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult. That's why, again, I always say I appreciate your donations. And once again, I don't know if the brother wants me to say it, but the brother who donated, you know who you are. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. What's his Akil Onke? That's his Facebook. Okay, I'm gonna look him up on Facebook, and I'm gonna try to contact him directly, because I've been saying it, but I keep procrastinating. I keep getting distracted with being busy with all this stuff. So, inshallah, yeah, we're going to try to get that done. All right. So we're going to end it there. I won't forget to put the links in the description of this video so you can see the links to everything I said about the undercover agents, the sting operations, the setups, all of that. Okay. So inshallah, I appreciate y'all. You guys have a good night. And what do I do? Well, I do a couple of things. I teach, I teach martial arts, right? I teach martial arts. I sell martial art instructional videos. You can get them on Amazon. I teach it. I do Uber. I'm an Uber driver. I got a book out. I got my book. Matter of fact, yeah, let me promote my book too. Don't forget, brothers and sisters, I have my book also, which is He Never Was God, How Scripture Shows That Jesus Christ Was a Man and Not God. You can go to my Twitter page, and I advertise my book on my Twitter page. You can get it in ebook form, or you can get it in paperback. Remember, if you get the paperback version of it, the paperback version, the cover is different from the ebook version of it, but it's the same material, okay? The paperback version, the cover is different and has a different title, but because I redid the title. I was trying to get something a little bit more catchy, a little bit more, promotable. So I changed the cover on the ebook form of it, but the paperback version is the same book, okay? The paperback version is called Clearing Jesus of Blasphemy, all right? But it's the same material. The inside is the same material. It's just that the cover is different. So you could also support me like that. You can support me by purchasing the book. And in return, you will get some useful information that you could use in your discussions about Jesus in Islam and things like that. So like I said, those are all the things that I do. So a lot of my work is in trying to do those things and, to try to keep the roof over my head and take care of my children and pay the bills and, all those things like that. So I do all of those things. So I'm completely self-employed, but those are the things that I do. So, your donations help. They help free up my time so I can do the research and, try to get more of the things done in this regard. So again, that's why I greatly appreciate it. You give dawah. No, not really. Honestly, no, I don't. Most of the time I'm just driving. Either I'm just driving the person to where they want to go. And if they want to talk, they talk. But I usually don't, I just driving unless they start talking most of the time. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So we're going to end it there, brothers and sisters. You guys have a good night, a good weekend. And inshallah, we'll see you again next week, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right. And so you guys have a good night. Assalamu alaikum.